Hello friends, good morning. This is my first vlog in English and I hope to do occasional ones in English in future as well. Now the reason I am making this vlog is because I have achieved a milestone in my life, and this milestone relates to travel. I have just completed a century of countries, which means I've been to 100 countries. I may have been to some of them multiple times. Like China, I have been 3 times, India 3 times, Russia twice, Canada twice, USA perhaps 5 times, but I count it only as one. So 100 countries visited. I'm about, I'm 73 to be exact. And I never actually aimed for 100 countries. But what happened was when I started writing my travelogue, and that also became possible because I was homebound because of COVID and couldn't travel anymore, so I started to write. And when I counted the number of countries I had been to, it turned out that I was close to a century, being at 96. Now this was COVID times, I wasn't young anymore, so I wondered if I would ever do my century or be out at 96, to use a cricketing terminology. Many a batsmen, as we know, have not reached their century, have been out on 96 or thereabouts. But when travel was resumed after COVID, I went to 3 more countries, which took my count to 99. And now in cricket, it's called the nervous 99s, and there was always the danger of being out on 99. But I did make it to 100. Earlier this month, I traveled to the Philippines, which became my 100th country. So today I am bragging about my travels. There's something called bragging rights, as we know. Now, traveling to 100 countries was never my aim, but traveling has always been my passion. As far as I can remember, from my late teenage years, if not earlier, I would look at maps of the world, and I would, in my mind's eye, I would travel. I would imagine myself in different places. And whenever an opportunity offered, and I think the first time I traveled solo was when I would have been 16 or 17. Ever since, I have traveled and I have traveled. And I've done so alone. I've done so with friends, with my wife and 2 boys, and also traveled in small group, big group, package tours, independent tours. The reason I've been able to achieve the century is perhaps because I never let go an opportunity to travel. Unlike other people who plan long and plan, I jump at any opportunity. I make stopovers from point A to point B, like traveling, say, from Pakistan to United States. I would make at least 1 stopover on the way back, perhaps 2 or at least 1. And I think that's the way to go. Now, not everybody wants to travel, but most people I know, most people I've spoken to always sort of envy me and say, oh, how they would like to travel as well. In fact, some people have asked me, oh, Razi, how can you afford to travel so often? And I've told them, well, perhaps you can afford better than I, or more than I can, but you got other priorities. If you have got disposable money, you probably want to at least change the curtains or change the sofa, or maybe add a room to your house or buy another house or move to another neighborhood. But I do none of these. You know, my first priority, after of course meeting my and my family's needs, is to travel. And I travel cheap, also helped by the fact that I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't go to expensive restaurants, and I don't do shopping. And thankfully, my wife is not crazy about shopping as well. So whenever she is with me, we spend time traveling and not shopping, and also the money is spent on traveling and not shopping. Now, before I forget, let me show you the book that I published, which is here, A World Unveiled. Here's the full image of the cover, and it's available on Amazon. Now, the book doesn't cover all the countries I've been to, but covers most of them. Particularly, there's 2 chapters on India. There are 2 chapters on Africa. There's a long one on China, a long one on Russia, and of course a very long one on my driving trip through the United States and Canada. And now, am I the first one from the Indian subcontinent, from let's say India, Pakistan or Bangladesh, to have reached the figure of 100? I'm not sure, but there's a possibility that I may be the first one, for no better reason perhaps than the fact that it's not easy to travel on a subcontinental passport because of the visa restrictions. No matter who you are, no matter how rich you are, getting a visa on an Indian, Pakistani or Bangladeshi passport is not easy. I have been lucky insofar as for the last 20 years I have I've been able to travel on an Australian passport, having become a citizen of this country just over 20 years ago. As I said, I have had the passion of traveling from early on, but I have known few people who have expressed no desire to travel, although most have expressed envy that I have traveled so much. One of my close relatives through my wife's side, who actually died earlier this year in his late 60s perhaps, I had spoken to him a few months before his death, and during that conversation he revealed that he had no desire to be anywhere, and and said he was born in Karachi and ultimately he died in Karachi, and he had never been even to the city of Hyderabad, which is the next biggest town from Karachi, being about 100 kilometers to the northeast. So he was born in Karachi and spent all his life in Karachi and had no regrets whatsoever. I think lucky are such people as well, because they live in their own small world and they have satisfaction as well. Not that everyone has to or needs to or feels like traveling, but I think most people do. Now, traveling is not a bed of roses. You don't travel as a VIP. And I think there's not much pleasure in traveling as a VIP. I have also traveled for work, which has been far less enjoyable than when I travel at my leisure, at my own pleasure. Now, travel involves both pleasure and pain, but definitely there is a lot of satisfaction. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it, and I wouldn't be going or traveling again and again. So there's a lot of pleasure, but there's always satisfaction, even if it comes with some pain, some unexpected obstacles, some hindrances, some annoyances, and especially when traveling alone, it's a lot of pleasure, because you can make all your decisions on your own behalf. So whatever you wish, you do. But there's the problem of feeling a bit insecure when you're alone. Things can go wrong. You could be in an accident. You could be, down with some ailment, some disease, or you could be burgled. So there are problems when traveling alone, but the one advantage of traveling alone is that you are the sole decision maker. Anyway, so I have traveled extensively with friends, solo groups, and I've been to many interesting places, have met interesting people. Now, going anywhere is interesting. So the destination need not be always a beautiful place or a fun place. Usually I don't like crowded places, which is why I've not still been to Florida, let's say. But sometimes you can't avoid crowded places. But the more remote the place, the more satisfaction for me. People ask me which country you enjoyed most or you like most. That's a very natural question to ask, but a very difficult one to answer. I have no answer. If you ask me to mention one country, I probably could not. Because you can look at it from different angles, from the perspective of natural beauty, or from the cultural aspect, or from the remoteness of the place, or your own experiences. So I hope to make a few more videos on my travels, and I will try to answer the questions that I've been asked already in my conversations. And I would urge you to ask me your questions in the comment section, and I will try to answer them as well. I hope you will enjoy these episodes, my experiences of traveling for now over 60 years, I suppose. Yeah, I'm now 73. Let's say over 50 years, definitely, to all continents, to many countries in South America and in Africa and in Asia and Europe. Now, if you have a chance and if you haven't yet read my travelogue, you can do so by buying it on Amazon. That's enough for today, and I hope to be back in a few days with more on my travel experiences. Thank you very much, and see you again.